Hi, this is Joey Busuttil, and welcome to another episode of the ELENI Connection podcast. And everyone's been asking me about what this word means. And this word really just means finding that true sense of self, that true sense of happiness, not looking for external reasons, but just finding it within yourself. Now, the Greeks and the philosophers of the time really believed that to find your ELENI, you had to sort of let go of your structure of who you thought you were to walk into a place of maybe simplicity or happiness within yourself. And this program is really about asking inspirational people that I love and people that I admire, and sort of peel back the layers to what makes them happy and seek fulfillment. Now, on today's show, we have a very special guest, someone that I adore and love, and someone that inspires a lot of people around the world. But today we're going to find out what inspires her. And today we're going to be speaking to ELENI Mitas. Did I say it right?
That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
How are you, my darling?
So good. I cannot tell you how perfect that this topic is today as opposed to, say, last Monday.
Yeah. Well, why is that? Why do you think that is? Is it something vibing for you?
I have had a massive transformation this last week, and I've gone through something huge from a spiritual, personal level. And exactly what you just said in terms of introducing the topic is like where I'm at. So this day, you're the first person who's interviewing me after that has happened.
Wow. I feel blessed, and I just wanted to say, you have been an inspiration to so many people, and you do so much. Like, I always look at you and go, how does this woman, how does she sleep? But the thing is that the reason why I asked you is because I believe that you have this connection inside of yourself, right? So we're going to ask a series of questions, and really it's just about you being as comfortable as you want to answer them. So I want to start off with just asking you about what it means for you to be you.
It's really interesting. So it's a really interesting question. So what it means for me to be me is whether what I'm saying is actually coming from here.
Okay.
As opposed to here. So, you introduced me today as ELENI, and that is my birth name. And I've only actually decided to adopt my birth name as of Wednesday night. So just a few days ago.
Is that like a very powerful, strong moment?
Oh, it was really, really powerful because, look, I love, my former self, Helen. I really, really, am so grateful because, I'm here because of everything that she created in a very driven way. And, that's still a part of me. But I'm feeling that finally, more than ever, I've connected back to who I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, I was watching you do that, and my mind was racing, going, "Is it an ethnic thing? Because everyone could sort of assume why it is." But I love the fact that you did it and you chose it. So, do you feel that name connects more to who you are? Like, is that a real essence of who you are?
I think that it connects more to my soul. So the soul that dropped into the body, that's who ELENI is the soul that was birthed before a sense of identity, before a sense of self, before achievements, before any kind of anything that I created, which then gave me another sense of, well, this is who you are because you did this. ELENI is not the person who has done anything. It's just the person who is.
Yeah, and that's why I think you're right. It does tie in perfectly to this topic.
Yeah, perfect.
Because ELENI is a raw object, a person, raw subject. And, when you remove everything, you find the truth, right? So because it's basically about seeking fulfillment, I know that these questions are random and you just answer them as openly as you can, but what does that mean to you? Like, what do you think fulfillment means to you?
Fulfillment to me means when my heart is fluttering, when my heart is expanding, and I can feel it. I can feel it like it's expanding. Now, it could be expanding by doing, a variety of things. Like, as an example, just this morning, I had a meeting with my business partner, and I was in tears of happiness because of the work that we're about to embark on. That's never happened before with work. And
Mm.
even though I love work and I'm passionate about, the work that I do, I've never been in tears
Yeah.
because of it.
And what is that? What do the tears mean, you think?
That this is the reason, this is the real reason. It's all leading to, why I'm here and what I'm supposed to be doing. And so fulfillment is that feeling of feeling full. And,
Mm.
this last weekend was, I felt full the whole weekend. So on Saturday I was with my son, and just my interaction with him, he's turning 28 soon. And
What?
just, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
I know, crazy. And so just my interaction with him has changed because I've released stuff, in terms of, what I expect, the
Mm.
whole concept of we think that we love our children unconditionally, but then we have conditions, but we don't realize they're conditions until we can see them. Hey, that's a condition. Like,
Yeah. Like, I mean, and also, you can't really control anyone, can you? So I wasn't going to ask you this, but you brought your son up. So, when you think about giving birth and having a child, right? Because I'm not a parent, how does that relate to being fulfilled and finding your eudaimonia? Like, I'm guessing that when you saw him, something changes. Like, what was that like for you in regards to when you first connected with him? Do you remember?
yeah, I do. And really one of the first things was that being grateful that I was a woman. So prior to that, Joe, I was very, like, I thought that I got the short end of the straw. Like, that was from when I was a little girl. It was like, are you kidding me? I'm a girl. Like, this is a man's world. Like, I totally did not associate with playing with dolls. I never played with dolls. If someone gave me a doll, I'd put it on top of the cupboard and leave it there in its packet. It was like, what a ridiculous thing to do is play with doll, like. And I was so passionate about, women's rights and that sort of thing. And it was like, why am I a woman? It's all about, this is a man's world. And then when I gave birth, it was like, oh, God, how lucky am I that I've got to experience this? Like, I'm nursing him, on my breast. And that feeling is something that you can't actually explain to anybody. And
No.
even, fathers don't get to experience this, but how lucky am I that I'm a woman? So for the first time, I embraced my femininity because, prior to that, I was very much, a lot of masculine energy in the sense that, um, independence and
Yeah.
making
How
sure.
did you counteract all that? Like, and you and I always talk about being ethnic and all that sort of stuff. Like, so do you think it was from the culture, or do you think that it was just the era and the time? Like, and how did a strong woman like yourself counteract that so you didn't come across as being the opposite of being fulfilled? You know what I mean? Like, you could come across, women can come across as angry, which is so unfair, when
Yeah.
really all they want is to feel equal so they can find their happiness and their fulfillment. What did you do to sort of maybe get the people around you to understand?
Well, what I did was it all happened subconsciously in the sense that I didn't consciously plan on a plan, do this, do that. But
Mm.
what happened was I played the perfect child. I did everything right. I went to university. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I married a Greek Cypriot like myself, whose parents were like my parents. Our families were almost identical. It was all very easy until it wasn't. And
Mm.
so what I did was I actually had this situation where I fell in love with someone else, and that someone else was completely different to everything that I had done in the past. And up to that point, my life was very much black and white, right or wrong. There was no
Yeah.
between. It was right or
Well,
wrong.
I know, but it's actually basically saying that you weren't, you were doing something to please everyone, but you weren't really seeking, that fulfillment wasn't really there until you met the other person who probably radiated. You know what I mean? Like, did you notice at that time that that's what you were doing? Did you know that you were going, okay, you didn't
Not at
know?
all. Like it was totally. I was totally unaware of what was going on underneath the surface.
Mm.
All I knew was that I had this huge pull to this person, and I couldn't keep away from them. And it was because they represented everything that, you know, was different to what I was accustomed to. You know, it was like the complete opposite of everything that I thought was the way that I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it was a matter of, you know, it took a while, a number of years, to, you know, leave that marriage and start another marriage. But it was a complete identity crisis. That's what it was. It was an identity, like, who am I? You
I
know,
know, but I love that. I mean, as soon as you said that you were attracted to someone opposite, I love that, because I love that whole yin and yang thing, because I think that's what's missing. I don't know. How do you interpret people out there that are, and, you know, this is not a mental health podcast. We're not saying that people are doing bad things or anything, but how do you identify with people that aren't seeking fulfillment, the people that are just trudging along and just doing things because they have to pay a mortgage, or they think that they can't get a better job, or they can't be better, right? Like, how do you interpret that? What do you see when you look at those people?
yeah, it's interesting because my son is like that, right? And so initially the way that I approached that was the wrong way, which is, I need to solve this problem. You know,
Yeah.
I need to get him out of his own way. I need to let him understand what a genius he is, and how he can do this, this, and this, and this, and how he doesn't have to be in this box. I really need to let him know, but it's not the way people awaken. So
Yeah.
I didn't awaken because someone told me. So it has to be our own journey, our own experience, and we have to have experienced all of that. So, you know, the way that I approach it now, Joe, is by honoring it.
Yeah.
Really, and not just saying the words, but really honoring it, because, you know, I went through that. There was a stage when I used to think like that. I used to behave like that. I used to think that those obstructions were real obstructions. I saw the world in a different way. But the only way that I could see the world, you know, the way that I see it now, is by having that experience to begin with.
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
So I honor all those people that, you know, no matter where they are on the journey, you know, the fact is we're all the same.
Yeah. And you know, do you think that we are going through a major change? Do you feel it like a shift that's going on, you know, because of, you know, maybe because of COVID, but maybe because it's still the right time, where those people now are starting to wake up? Because I think everyone is seeking something. And I just wanted to ask you, what are you waiting for?
Waiting, did you say?
Yeah. What are you waiting for?
I'm not waiting for anything.
Okay. So I just want you to think a little bit beyond that. So what do you think, if you could sort of like hope that something would come into our energy field, and it could be a fantasy, it could be a wish, a dream. What do you think you would like to see come?
Well,
And it could be global or just about you.
yeah, I actually don't see the way that I see things, Joe, is that it's not what I wish or what I think, it's what I know.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have a knowingness of what will happen to the world, and the world is awakening in, you know, millions at the moment. And when I say awakening, I don't mean, it's got nothing to do with the vaccine, whether you're pro-vaccine, whether you're anti-vaccine, or that's not what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is awakening to who you really are.
Yeah.
That's
And it had to happen, didn't it? It had to start happening.
Absolutely. And I have no doubt, because I can see it. It's happening really fast.
Yes.
It's happening. So I know it's going to happen. That's why I say I'm not waiting, because I'm not.
You're in it. You're
I'm
in it.
enjoying it. It feels like that I have, you know, that I am in the most fun time in humanity, because everything is happening at a really rapid rate. And I'm at a really good age for it. So I'm turning 53 in 2 days. And so it's
We're the same age.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So it's a really good age, because if this was going on 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready to run with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like, I mean, you and I have got similar things that have happened to us this year. Like, we both lost a parent. We're both going through, you know, we both worked in mental health. We're both coming out of another side of it. And it's like a change. And it is, I tried to think if it was an age thing, but I just think it's just an us thing. You know, everyone has their own moment to unfold and to unravel. And like, I love the feeling of just being in surrender. I've I've never done that. I wish someone taught me that when I was younger.
They couldn't have, right?
I know.
And when you said the word surrender, I got all goosebumps all over my body. So what you said was 100% right, that it's not an age thing. But when I say I wouldn't have been ready for it 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready for it 10 years ago. You know, like there are people who, you know, are 15 who are ready for it now. But it's not an age thing. It's very personal as to where you are on the journey.
Yeah. But again, I think it's important to highlight what you said about the speed. I think in the past decades, everyone, you know how people would do it here and there, but I think now we're noticing there's a bigger consciousness rising. So because you're such an inspirational and such a well-known person, so, you know, you have a platform, how do you feel you could change the world's elements of negativity? What voice can you use, or what inspiration can you give for people to look for when, you know, rather than looking at negative elements, but start to look at this fulfillment or this adaptability element? What could be something that you give to the world?
This is a really good question. I feel that the best that we can all give to the world is to be authentic and to be yourself. So many people think they've got to be someone else, or they've got to be like someone else, or they've got to follow these rules. And I did a live on this recently about, you know, what percentage of yourself are you actually showing to the world? So if we are ourselves, our unique selves, we're shining our light. So how we change the world is by shining our light. And it doesn't matter what job you have, whether whether you work in a department store, whether you're a therapist, whether you're a teacher, it doesn't matter what job you have. The way that we change the world is by shining our light. And how do we shine our light? By being loving and compassionate towards ourselves first, and loving every part of ourselves. The human part of ourselves. Every single part.
Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps now, because that is the element that people are missing, because people are so obsessed now with being good and perfect and ideal. They're choosing not to love those parts of themselves that they don't feel is represented in the society. So that's why we have this breakup of people and anxiety, because people aren't looking at, you know, like, for example, if I feel anxious, that anxiety teaches me how to be calm. But instead, people are focusing on the anxiety, and so the calm doesn't come, you know? So that's a really sort of big thing. We were talking about this, actually. I think I could have seen it on TV. I was talking about it with someone else. But do you feel that we are going to get to a place, and this is a big ask, where the world does have an equilibrium of care and love? Yeah,
heaven on earth. So
do you think we're going to get there?
I do. I don't know if it's going to be our lifetime.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so that's not something I'm sure about, but I have no doubt it's going to happen. I have that knowingness that it's going to happen. Maybe in our lifetime, maybe not.
Yeah. Okay.
It has to.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I still think that I agree with what you said earlier, which I love, is that we're in the middle of history, right? This like, you know, explosion of change. But I don't think I think it's going to take a while for that, because there's so many opinions and so many people that have to sort of go through all of that anger to come out with love. So maybe we'll be old, or maybe it may not happen in a lifetime. But I agree, it's going to probably happen, in another time of our existence. When it comes to this, question's a little bit, you've sort of already answered it, but like, when you think about other people, right, and this is where you have to be honest and vulnerable to yourself, I guess, is that, what do you think you feel sometimes when it comes to the way that you may not have compassion for someone, or the way that you may have compassion with someone? Because we're all human, and I guess it's important for us to be honest about, when people say, "Oh, I don't hate anyone," that's sometimes, I think that's sometimes too pure. So for you in the world, how do you navigate your, say, for example, the people that are in your sphere? Because you know a lot of people, and sometimes you get people that bag you, and sometimes you get people that troll you, and sometimes you get people that love you. So how do you navigate that so you still have that fulfillment?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's like, I guess the people that challenge me the most, in terms of me focusing on having compassion, so it's not natural. So I've got to actually like breathe into it and see them as a light being, and then send them love, like it's not an automatic thing, would be the ones that act out of integrity. So they're acting out of integrity. Their intentions and not to do the right thing. And but then the way that I'm seeing it is that those people who act out of integrity are actually responding, it's a fear response.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't lie or they wouldn't act out of, integrity if they had nothing to fear.
So do you think they're projecting on you? Like it's a projection? And then, do you, are you sensitive? Do you feel those things, or do you have a way of protecting yourself?
Yeah, I've always had a good way of protecting myself, and that is by, especially now, I feel more than ever. But this is what I believe, Joe. I feel that I don't need to protect myself. And
That.
This is and this is recent. So what I'm saying to you is really recent. It's not like, I haven't felt this need for years. Recently, I really believe I have no need to protect myself.
Yeah, so you've really surrendered.
Yes, because I believe that the people that I'm attracting in my world, if there's something negative there, then that negative is in me. And it sounds cliche.
No.
And it sounds cliche and it sounds like, oh, yeah, but what does it really mean? But I really believe that. So I really believe that if somebody comes to me who's acting out of integrity or who's exhibiting some sort of something that I don't look at favorably, then what is it in me that also has that?
Yeah. Well, it sort of goes with the other question when I asked you, how do we decrease negative energy? Well, you're decreasing negative energy by attracting these people that you then assist to let go. So it is all connected, and I can tell by your body language and the way that you're feeling. I can see how you're feeling. I can tell that you've got that energy now in you that gives you that sort of pathway to surrendering, because it's so hard for people to understand what that means. But when you get there, oh my God, it's so liberating to, I found surrender when I couldn't walk. So I had to surrender to walk, and I couldn't do it, right? And the coach kept saying, just surrender. I go, I am. What does that mean? He goes, you've got to not care about walking. I go, what do you mean? I want to walk. He goes, I know, but what if you don't walk? I go, And it's so interesting how you have to let go. So have you ever experienced anything like that where you've had to just be neutral? I guess you said you have, but you've had to be neutral and just let whatever happens happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are so many things, and it's a really challenging process because you want something, you desire something, whatever that might be. And it might be that, my child, has healthy choices. It might be something like that. But it was only when I surrendered, that is an example, surrender to the fact that, it is his journey.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not here to keep him safe. That's not my job. My job is to just honor his choices and to love unconditionally. What does that mean? That means he can make any choice he wants. And once I did that and I released the energy of surrender, and it's like, well, it's up to him, everything changed between us.
Yeah. Did you how I explained to you that it took ages for me? How did you find it? Did you have to practice a bit, or did you feel like it came easy to you?
No, I had to practice.
Yeah.
And then, by doing it again and again and again and again, and then it becomes the way you relate, the way you are.
Yeah.
But yes, it was
I believe that there's a space that gets created where everything then is real. I don't know if that makes sense. Because your head doesn't talk as much. You just are in this space and you're just doing stuff. Oh my God, I could talk to you forever, but I'm going to have to ask you the last question. What do you feel you need, if anything? I think let's try and find one thing, but what do you think you need to simplify in your life as you step forward closer and closer to the eudaimonia effect?
Well, I'm in the process of it. So,
what is that? What does it mean to you to do that?
Okay, so I live in a very big house.
Okay.
And, up to last Wednesday, I was still going to keep it and rent it out. But then that complicates things, right?
Yeah.
So you look at it from a 3D point of view, and it makes sense in the numbers to keep the big house, to rent it out, to have it as a property to have in the future. It also brings complications. Do I want this complicated asset in my life? Like, do I want this complicated asset of this big house with a pool? The answer is no, because the only reason I would have it is because I'm fearful that I'm not going to be able to, recreate the money or anything like that. So
Yes.
let go of the fear, understand it's going to come anyway, let go of the doubt. So
Yeah.
today the agent's coming.
Congratulations.
In
I mean, do you feel liberated? Like, again, when I couldn't walk, I learned how to just, I can live in, I don't need anything now. And it's so bizarre to even say that out loud, but I'm so impressed with what you just said, because that is the true essence of the Eudaimonia Connection, meaning that you don't need anything, right?
No.
And, you will find whatever you need in the future, because every day you are in faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it got proven recently to me when I was in the Gold Coast. I was supposed to be there for 10 days running my retreat, and Melbourne went into lockdown. I thought, nah, I'm not playing the lockdown game. I'm staying up here. Thank you very much. So we stayed there for 4.5 weeks, and it proved to me, like, whether we stayed for 4 weeks or whether we stayed for a year, we didn't need more than what we had packed for 10 days.
Yeah. But also, you didn't, what you just explained is that it doesn't matter if you're in Queensland or in Melbourne, or if you're in America or you were in the bush, your life was that moment.
Exactly.
And people attach to us, a lot of people may have said, oh my God, I need to be in Melbourne. And so then the moment gets lost because it's about the complaining. But when you can just surrender and be in the moment, that is, oh my God, this is, for the second episode, we've discovered, this is what I want the listeners to understand, is that you have to just trust that, and you and I get clients and all that associate things with people or things, or I've lost my job, and they put so much emphasis. The reality is that you're not dead, right? You just adapt.
Exactly. And, just to make a point of that, when I was in Queensland, the kinds of things that came in my head were, oh, yeah, but I've got 2 really big overseas presentations to make and I'm not in my space. This is my space where everything's right. The light's right, the background's right, all the rest of it. I'm not in my space. And I just went, so what? So what? I'm not in my space. Actually, I had 3. I had a huge workshop, a half-day workshop, and 2 overseas presentations to do. It's like, I have to go back to Melbourne to do them. No, you don't.
Yeah.
And in fact, the presentations, things went wrong because I wasn't in my space, like the internet went out and all this sort of stuff. So what?
Yeah. So now you navigate things without actually complicating them. I mean, like, that's the word I got from you with the house. I think I never thought of it that way, is that thing, even though, people aspire to money, don't they, in a way, because it's a social thing that we have in the Western world, but no one really thinks about the complication that goes with it, like the greed, or that you become disconnected, or the fact that you become too indulgent, or any of those things, right? I mean, not everyone, of course, but yeah, I never thought of that. So thank you for that. You have to think about the bigger thing through complication.
What does it mean? How is this going to, what does this mean to have this in your life? What does it really mean?
Yeah.
And what are you fearful about in terms of letting it go? What will happen if you let it go? Because prior to last week, it was like, well, if I let it go, but if I keep it for another how many years, it'll go double in price. It's a really good area, whatever, because it's a big property. It's like, why? Live today.
Yeah. All right. I want you to give us one last statement. And the statement is about what you think Eudaimonia now means to you.
Okay, so...
And say it your way. Tell everyone how you say it.
Okay. Well, I mean, you said to me at the beginning, how do you say that if it was Greek? And I said,
it's a Greek word.
If it was a Greek word, I'd say eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia. That sounds so cool. So what does eudaimonia mean to you now?
What does it mean to me now? I think it's all about, remembering about who we are.
Yeah.
Just remembering who we are, because we're not our achievements. We're not, our awards. We're not our money. We're not our cars. We're not our status symbol. We're not our jobs. Who are we?
Yeah. And if you don't mind me adding that, right, like, I hope you don't mind, but like, because again, you and I have lost a parent recently, in that moment of saying goodbye, that, you agree that those things mean nothing. Absolutely. You know what I mean? You're saying goodbye to someone you love. You don't sit there and say, oh my God, I love you, Mum, because you had a house and you had this. You're connecting with who you are. So again, it's really beautiful how you connected all the things that I wanted to. And I think I'm very excited now that this podcast is going to really get the message out there, because I'm going to get people to talk at this level. So thank you so much. Eleni, thank you so much for being on the second episode. So I wish you really well, and thank you for everything that you do to the community and to the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do. And this is a wonderful idea. It's so needed.
Thank you. All right, everyone, this is episode 2. Make sure you look out for it every Wednesday. Now, please subscribe and tell your friends so we can pass on the ELENIMITAS connection. Till next time, everyone, have a great week, and from the heart. Love you. Bye.